Hello everyone, it's Della DuLac. Today I'm going to show you the new or the 2026 in color shimmer brushes. These are the colors: Crisp Cantaloupe, Barely Blush, Golden Glow, Peaceful Pine, and Hydrangea Hues. I love these colors, super pretty. These are the new ink pads. So they are magnetic. Very fun, or very easy to open. I hope all of our pads go to that. Let's just move those out of the way, and I'm going to show you the brushes. So when you first get your brushes, I put this back on here just to show you. It will show up in your packaging with this little guard, I suppose, this little ring. So you want to take that off, and then you'll put these back together. Just like with the Wink of Stella that has that little black ring. So you take that off and then you have to pump it a few times to get the ink to flow into the brush. Here is a little tester, so you can, it might take a few times. You have to pump it and then just keep testing and blotting and brushing until the ink flows. So I've done that with all of my pens here. And I'm going to demonstrate those on our Artisan Sketched Garden DSP. Very pretty, black and white, great option for playing around with some color. You can also, of course, stamp in black and use any of your stamps that you want to use. But this is great. It's all ready to go. So this top one, you can cut these apart, which I have already done. So I've just cut that strip apart in between and then fussy cut out a little piece. So I'll demonstrate the coloring on that piece right there. And then all of the reverse sides are another little print. Very cute, very cute. So let's move these out of the way. And then I have a couple samples that I did with those papers. And I always like to cut mine apart, or cut my DSP into, usually I will cut it in half at 6 by 12, and then I will cut each of those panels so they're 4 by 6, and then I'll cut that little strip off. So you've got your 4.5 or 4 by 5 1/4 to put on your cards. And then sometimes you can cut, this one was a different print, but so I've cut this one here about an inch and a half, however much you want. And then I'll flip that over so you can see the other print on a few of those. So I did that with this one, or these two. And then I've done a little bit of coloring. I didn't do the whole thing. You can of course color all of the flowers, but I just wanted to highlight or spotlight one little section of flowers to color. So you can see a little bit of shimmer. I apologize, this light doesn't really show the shimmer as well, but it's there, very pretty. And then I've also taken an embossing folder. So I did this one here, the Floral Spray 3D embossing folder, and I've colored that one. Very pretty. So I've done it on I embossed it on the Petal Pink, and then matted it with the Crisp Cantaloupe. Those two, I think, go fairly well together. So then I've just went around and I did a little bit of both of these actually. So I did all of the flower with the Barely Blush, which is super light. And then I did all of my shadow darker areas with the Crisp Cantaloupe on the flower. And then the center I did with the Golden Glow. And then just did the Peaceful Pine with my leaves. So I've done a light color. I did the whole thing, and then as you go back and rework a few areas, it will get darker. I like to kind of let it dry just a couple minutes in between time though. Okay, so let me show you that. Let's get this guy over here. Get my scratch paper back in case I need that. Okay, so let's color this. Let's try let's do a little bit of the water with the hydrangea hue. So again, I'm going to do the whole part here, kind of light, and then we'll let it dry for a minute while we're coloring the flowers. And then we'll come back in with some shading. So we will do that, and let's do the leaves. Again, I'm just going to do a light coloring, just do the whole thing. I'm even going to do a little bit on the stems just to get a little bit more color. There we go. Maybe up here. And we'll color these in. Just a little more light color over the whole thing. So we'll come back with that one. Oh, almost forgot that one. And I think these little things, they could be leaves if you want, or little buds. I'm going to do them as little buds. So let's do the flower. We'll do that and we'll make those little buds. We're going to do that with the Barely Blush. So I've got a nice light color. Okay, there. We'll let those dry for a minute. We'll come back to the water and let's do a few more dark. I'll come down here. Let's do some shading. Okay, so let's get a little bit darker. I'm going to let that dry and maybe add just a little, come back and add a little bit more to it. So we'll come back to the green, Peaceful Pine. We'll do some little shading close to the flower down that little spine. You can see a little bit of shading going, shaping up. Okay. Yeah, very pretty. These are super fun to play with. Okay, and now for the flower, I'm going to come in with the Crisp Cantaloupe to add a little bit of shading because that Barely Blush is very light, but it's a pretty pink. So I'm just going to follow the little little layers here so it looks like they're underneath, and just the little tips. Okay, it's very light, very light. Let's do just a little bit more here. Okay, let's come back to that hydrangea hue. Let's add a little more shading down here. You can see it's starting to add a little bit more, a little darker down here. Very pretty. You can do as much or as little as you want. Just play with them. They're super fun. Okay, let's do just a little bit more of the Peaceful Pine. See if we can get that just a little darker. Okay. Okay. And we'll come back just a little more of that Crisp Cantaloupe. Just to add a little bit more definition. There we go. Very cute. Okay, I can get a hold of this. There we go. So you can kind of see a little bit of that shading right in here. Okay, let's put that on a card. Set that right there. Okay, so I have some pieces already taken shape here. So I've got my, and I decided to pull out the cardstock for the Barely Blush. And we'll mat that on there. It also looks really pretty on the black. Oops, on the black. So I did this one on the black base, and this one I did with the Peaceful Pine card base. And a little bit of that ribbon. A little bit of the Crisp Cantaloupe ribbon. Oh, and this one has the little butterfly gems. Very cute. Okay, so I've already done this. So like I said, you can cut like an inch, inch and a half, and then flip it over to see that back side of this paper. But what I also did was just before, when I cut this apart, I trimmed this just 1/8 of an inch so I could spread these apart to have just a little bit of that card base showing through as well. And then I've got my other little strip on the inside. And then I have cut just a little scrap, little piece of black that I want to mat this on. So let's hope this is going to cooperate with me. There we go. There we go. So we're going to do just a little bit of that adhesive. So we're going to glue that to this black piece so it's nice and flat on there. Okay. There, just center that on. I'm going to flip it over and give it a little back rub. Make sure it's on there really well. Okay. Very cute. I like how it pops on that black background. And when I fussy cut it out, I did leave just a little white border, and that makes it pop even more, makes it stand out very nicely. Okay, so let me find my dimensionals. Here we are. Okay, so let's flip this over. We'll put some dimensionals on the back. While I have these, I'm going to do the same thing with this one, except I'm just going to put one here on the edge. Okay, and then we'll pull these backings off and put that on our card right around here. Okay, now with my tag, I'm going to have it layered up on this. That's why I did not put a dimensional right there. So I just want one right here. So I'm going to put just a tiny bit of adhesive right here on the edge. Take this backing off, and then we'll take our little tag and put that right over here. Okay, very cute. Very cute. But, of course, we have to add just a little bit of bling. So let's do some of these rhinestones. Love these rhinestones. They are very universal because they're just the silver. Oh, that one is going to be difficult. Come on. There we go. I like that they're 3 different sizes. So we'll take, I did the large, the medium, and then I've got this small one. Let's just put that right there. Just enough. I usually like to do 3. You get that little bit of bling. And you can see a little bit of shimmer from those shimmer brush colors. Very cute. Love it. They're fun to play with. I encourage you to check those out. You can get those on my website. Be sure to give me a thumbs up and click that bell button so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much. Have a great day.